Holy shit balls, people. My faith in mankind has been restored. Well, sorta. You might have seen that storm in a teacup incident from a few weeks back. And yes, Jono, I absolutely stole that from you. Thanks. We shared a reel where Jono McHugh questioned if the professional hunter's course alone was really enough to earn a PH license in South Africa. Tony DeBryne had some strong thoughts on that, and instead of letting it hang, we did what we normally do, and we got him on the podcast to really dive into it. Now, after breaking down the context for Tony, he absolutely understood what Jono was getting at. Now, let's take a look at that moment from the podcast.
Yeah, to circle back around on what he was talking about earlier in reference to the context, I think the point he was trying to make, because it's around the campfire, and he was talking about a lot of the young PHs don't know how to interact with the clients at a younger age. It's that experience of, let me learn to read my clients. This is what a younger, 18, 20, I know I couldn't talk to people at 18 to 20. Heck, I still have a hard time talking to people. And I think that was one of the things he was trying to mention is the younger guys have a hard time going, my client likes to, he also wants to hike see, or he only wants to shoot big stuff, or he wants to shoot everything, or she wants to shoot nothing, only this very specific package. I think that was one of the things he was trying to reference in the context part is, the older guys have a tendency to be able to read the clients better and have more life experiences, therefore they can tell more stories around the campfire. So kind of put that in perspective.
And that makes 100% sense. So what you need to do is, you as an outfitter, you need to spend enough time in your camp with your clients around the campfire so that you can facilitate.
Now, Jono could have just fired back on social media because, let's be honest, that's what a lot of us do. But he didn't. He came out with his own podcast response thanking Tony for keeping it respectful and actually having an adult conversation. Now, I'll be real with you. I haven't always handled things the way Jono did. In fact, I've definitely been guilty of firing shots on social media and taking, cheap digs at other hunters just because I didn't agree with them. Fortunately for me, I've learned over time that all that does is divide us. Frankly, it's pointless. We've got to do better. And Jono showed us exactly how to step up. Now, take a listen to this segment from his podcast response.
Tony DeBryne commented that he would like to respond to my statements and come on the show because he strongly disagreed with what I had said. Since then, Tony has been on the podcast. The episode has been recorded and released by the guys at Salt Lake Outdoors. And I highly recommend you go check it out. I think it's on their YouTube page. I will admit that when I saw the responses and that Tony would be on the podcast to respond to what I said, the hairs on my neck did prickle up. And I was ready for a fight. That's just my nature. I have never shied away from conflict. In fact, I enjoy a good scrap. And I'll always back what I say. Until I listened to the episode. I wanted to put up my own official response. Not because I want to start a mudslinging contest with Tony and Parza, but rather because I took away something completely different from that interview. And I'm going to bring that up in a few moments. Now, I have never met Tony. But what I heard from the interview gave me the impression that if him and I were to ever cross paths, maybe at a hunting convention or one of the shows, is we would most likely end up in the bar sharing a good couple of beers and probably laughing over some good hunting stories. He seems like a great, well-intentioned, honest person. I commend not only Tony as a person, but also in his official capacity as president of Parza, that his response on the episode to my statement was well laid out, mature, respectful. There was nothing derogatory said. It was civil and handled in a gentlemanly manner. Sean and the other guys on the podcast handled the episode really well. They brought both sides of the stories together and were clear in laying out the correct context. So, all in all, it really was a storm in a teacup situation.
And there's that storm in the teacup again. Thanks, Jono, for that. So, folks, here is the hard truth. Hunters are under constant attack from anti-hunting groups, from restrictive regulation, and from a biased media that's always ready to make us look like shit. Just recently, groups like Wild Earth Guardians and Maine Wildlife Alliance launched attacks on hunting practices, spreading all kinds of shit to sway public opinion. And this year, hunters in Colorado have had to face a push to limit wildlife management. And this is based purely on public pressure, even though the science says otherwise. And the problem isn't just on the outside. It's right here within our own freaking community. Social media has become a fucking battlefield where hunters are bashing each other over different styles. For example, the whole East versus West debate. Eastern hunters get mocked for sitting in tree stands or on smaller food plots, while Western hunters are sometimes called elitists just for preferring open terrain. Then there's the whole private versus public crap, where some folks feel the need to shame anyone who doesn't hunt on public land or that hires a guide. Now, full transparency, I've even caught myself getting sucked into this bullshit before. But let's be honest, it's just tearing us apart and giving those anti-hunters all the fuel they need to divide and conquer. And it doesn't stop there. Our Second Amendment rights are under constant fire too. We've got to recognize that these attacks aren't just about hunting. They're about our right to bear arms and to protect ourselves and our families. When we let our community get divided, we're not just putting hunting at risk, we're risking the future of freedoms we stand for. If we're out here tearing each other down online, we're just making it easier for these groups to pick us apart. This industry and our rights only have a future if we stop this petty bullshit and start standing united. Now, I really encourage all of you to watch the Tony DeBryne video and listen to Jono's podcast episode. I will link them below or above, depending on what social media you're watching this on, because these two showed us all a damn fine example of how adults and hunters should handle issues like this. They showed respect for one another. They listened and they focused on moving forward. That's something we all need to remember. That if we don't stand together, there's no hunting industry left to fight for, and our rights could very well be next. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this brief episode. And remember, until next time, live free, hunt hard, and keep chasing the adventure. And stop bashing other fucking hunters.